And you're all set.
Okay, thank you. This is the May 11th, 2022 meeting of the Southborough Personnel Board. Call the meeting to order. First order of business is approval of the minutes of April 13th, which were circulated prior to the meeting. Anyone have any changes, amendments to the minutes? Okay, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Ms. Jasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Thorburn,
Aye.
Mr. Malinowski.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. Minutes are approved. Next item is the expenditure ledger. Just going through, you see we did spend part of the money we approved for tuition reimbursement. We have the $5,000 remaining that we'll be paying to the Collins Center. We have the $3,000 for employee development, which we will also be spending, and I'll speak about that in a minute. Any questions about the ledger?
Nope.
All right, just a few items to go over quickly. Everyone on the board was at town meeting, so you know that our amendments to the SAP were approved. Thank you for all your help in getting that done. Also in the packet, there is a memo that I did to the select board, just notifying them of our reallocating monies from tuition reimbursement to the consulting line so we can pay for the Collins Center. Item C, as we agreed at the last meeting, we are going to move forward with the changes we made to the performance appraisal process starting for this cycle. And so Vanessa did send out a notice to everyone who does them, letting them know what the new process was and providing them with the forms to that. So we should be good to go on that. Item D, you saw the Collins Center contract that I did sign, as well as a draft of the questionnaire they proposed to send to employees. And that is open for comment by us. If anyone has any suggested alterations or changes to that, we are free to propose those to the Collins Center. So if anyone has anything.
Nope.
Okay.
I would say they know, they should know what they're doing, right? So I don't see any need to change their process.
Yeah, that was my feeling as well. So
Agree.
good. And then finally on employee development, Vanessa did go back to the instructor and he has agreed to do the seminar for all employees for the $3,000 that we had approved.
Okay.
So it's a good development, and that's going to be on May 26th.
Yes.
And I assume, I shouldn't assume, but all members of the Personnel Board are welcome
Of
to
course.
attend. And we'll get you further details about exactly where and when.
We have
And-
19. I'll just to give a tiny quick update on that. We have, I'm just shy of 20 people that have signed up so far. So we'll be doing several reminders over the next several weeks about that.
Okay, and a couple of other items I didn't know about or didn't think about at the time. One is, as you remember, when Kate Federoff came before the board, she talked about the possibility of revising the SAP so that we could do more things by policy and instead of having to always be going through the SAP amendment process. Vanessa has arranged a call with her on June 10th to discuss that. And in Betsy's terminology, I can have a +1. So if anyone is interested, I can't have more than one, but I can have one. So if anyone is interested in participating in that call, just let me know. And then and then finally, I'm required, I'm sure you all know of this already, but notify you of the volunteer breakfast on May 18th, just a reminder. And that's all I had. So moving on to number 4, Assistant Town Administrator's report. This is really a catch up of some open items that have been hanging out there for a while that we thought we'd get an update from Ms. Hale on. So with that, I'll turn it over to you, Vanessa.
Okay, thank you. I do want to update you on the senior IT specialist. Unfortunately, the final candidate, who was in fact appointed by the Board of Selectmen, had changed his mind at the very last minute. So the town administrator and I are in conversations with the IT manager about next steps on that. So we hope to share more information in the coming month about that. So sad turn of events, but we're trying to move forward as quickly as possible and get Jason help.
Vanessa, on that, or does that include conversations with the school administration at this point? Because I know they go through the same process constantly too.
Sure.
Screen
Sure.
for collaboration, given obviously what's going on.
Of course. Yes. Now that we're through town meeting and election day, we are back to our to-do list as of today, and that's at the top of the to-do list. I do have regular conversations with the School Labor Council HR director regarding advertising and, where is she finding success, but we do hope to have more fruitful discussions about that soon. So I can let you know about that as quickly as that happens. So stay tuned on that front. So back to the hiring piece. We did include an org chart that we've been working on in our department for the better part of the past year in your packet. I didn't mark it draft, but it still is a bit in draft form. This is something we started under Betsy's tenure, and it has, unfortunately gotten shelved a bit during town meeting prep. But what we've tried to do here, we never really had a really good org chart. It was never all in one place. So we have combined a lot of information here, and we've tried to include in many cases what the statutory authority is, who has the authority to appoint, where that stems from. So this is still a work in progress, but I wanted you to see where this is at this point in time. As a partner to that, we do have a very, very, very old hiring policy that was in place probably just around the time Brian and I came to work here, which is more than 2 decades ago now. So over the past couple of months, we've been updating that. We've been working with our labor council to get her feedback on that. It's still referred to advertising, every single position in the Boston Globe, things like that are just not on trend anymore. We're also trying to build in, ways to look at increasing diversity in our applicant pool. So this is something that's still in progress. I do think we could have that back at the June or July meeting. It is, again, something that was shelved a bit during town meeting preparation, but it is about 60% of the way there.
Okay, I had a question, and I realize the org chart is still draft, but I was confused by one thing. So according to this, the fire chief appoints firefighters, but the select board appoints police officers. Is
That is the statutory, it's the strong chief law in Massachusetts. Jason actually may know a bit more about that.
Yeah, between John and I, yeah. Southborough's a strong chief town from a fire chief, which means the fire chief has appointment in firing authority that doesn't go through the select board, versus if you see every time the police have a new appointee, it always goes to the select board. It comes with a recommendation from the police chief and the administration, but it's very different versus firefighters. You never see the select board appointing them for that exact reason.
Okay, Thank you.
Does Chief Thorburn have anything else to add there?
Oh, I advocate for a strong chief all the way around. Police and fire. Let them hire their own people.
Thank you, John.
Okay, any other questions on anything that Vanessa covered? Okay,
Thank you.
seeing none, moving on to item 5, benefits. So we, as you know, we did do a solicitation for volunteers from the employee population to help us develop new policies on vacation and sick leave. And you saw in your packet a list of 4 individuals who volunteered. I wanted to publicly acknowledge them and thank them. Melissa Danza, Conservation Agent, Ryan Donovan, Library Director, Laurie Esposito, Deputy Assessor, and John Parent, Director of Facilities. It strikes me as a good group of people who are thoughtful about these things. And so I think it's a good first step in that process. So I think we need to discuss how we're going to proceed. I would like to see 2 members of this group working with them. I think Jason has to be one of them because he has spearheaded this, unless he now jumps in and said, since I want no part of this.
I don't think I can run away from it now, can I?
Okay.
I do have a question on the membership, Barry, but
Yeah.
keep going with the finding another partner in crime
Okay.
with us.
I volunteer.
Okay. You've been involved in this as well. So I will defer to the 2 of you for how you want to proceed with that group. I think I should send just a quick email to them, thanking them for signing up and letting them know that someone will be in touch with them in terms of scheduling a meeting. So, but go ahead, Jason, with your point.
Yeah, so obviously I'm thrilled that those 4 employees step forward and think they're a great group. I did, look at it from a equity perspective in terms of I had Vanessa pull what grade each of them are in the SAP, as well as years of tenure, because actually the years of tenure actually is more important for this particular analysis than the SAP grade. And I think we're missing a group, which would be Mr. Parent appears to be the longest tenured employee in the group of 4 that volunteered. And I don't think he has 15 years of service based on at least my original math. So I did at least, in my back and forth with Vanessa before the meeting, have her start to think about if the board wanted someone with greater than 15 years of service, because they obviously do have usually the largest accruals, the largest balances, some which are protected already based on prior clauses in the SAP, that we may want to consider getting feedback from one of them. But obviously none have stepped forward to date.
Okay.
Do we have a list of who those employees are, Jason?
Vanessa, do you want to read off the list that you were able to pull together?
For
15 plus years?
hang on one second. Let me just get to that.
We may want to send them maybe all an email and just say we'd be appreciative to have one of them just join this group and give us their feedback because they're a longstanding employee.
I can do that.
Hello.
John, you want to go ahead?
There's a question. These 4 names, they're all department heads, aren't they?
Not Lori.
Yeah.
I find it interesting that nobody so-called from the ranks volunteered for this. It would seem to me, looking at this list, that are these 4 people the ones that administer the vacation plan within their departments?
Except for Ms. Esposito.
And I wouldn't say the administration of it goes to the department level, because all these are SAP employees. It all defaults back to what's in writing. So they all just have to comply with it. So Ms. Esposito, though, is not a department head.
Well, the individual employee has to issue the request to the department head for their vacation, or to pass by their vacation
Right.
and carry it forward to another year. So I would think that this study is going to affect how they might do that, or if they can do it, or, you know, it may or may not change anything the way it is, but I find it interesting that nobody wants to be a part of it.
I do have that list now. I'll just read off some of those names. So these are much longer term employees. It would include the assistant town accountant, Heidi Lindsay, the business administrator in the DPW, Jean Johnson, Youth and Family Services Director, Sarah Castle, program coordinator in the senior center, Peg Leonard, outreach coordinator in the senior center, Cindy Beard, council on aging director, Pamela Francois. Kristen and I were going over the list just to double check who had more than 20 years of service. So we're still doing that, but that's the bulk of people with much lengthier service.
Okay, thank you.
Right, but I'll reach out to them, just seeing if anyone would be interested, why we would like their input, and seeing if someone will step forward from that group.
I just think that'd be a great idea, because if we can get some of their feedback. And like Jason said, they probably have the most vacation and all those days banked. So it's just a different perspective. But all the
Yeah.
employees, just to go back to John's point, all the employees were given an opportunity to step forward, correct?
Correct.
And they didn't, John. So they chose to not step forward. So we need to go forward with this with who volunteered to do it.
Oh,
I don't think it's going to affect them, but they were given an opportunity to step forward and they chose not to.
that's fine.
Okay. And then I was just going to mention on 5A2, last I checked, there were 5 employees, was that right, Vanessa, who had submitted the form on vacation accrual?
I think it was 3 actually.
Oh, 3, okay, sorry. Which those forms will be made available, obviously, to Jason and Dorianne for their work. Would be nice if we had more.
Do you want me to send out one more request? That
Yeah, we can
before the
send out a
meeting gets
reminder
going?
to people.
Yes, please.
And just a reminder to all of us, as we had committed at a prior meeting, it is our intention to have recommendations for changes to the SAP on benefits in time for, if there is a fall annual meeting. So that's our goal. Anything else on benefits, Vanessa?
Not on benefits, but when you move on, I do have a follow-up question.
Okay, well, I think we're done with benefits. What is your question?
Okay, sure. So back to the Collins Center contract for a moment. I just wanted to follow up with the board on one piece. Their task 1 is the project inception meeting, where the center and the town will meet to gain a full understanding of the scope of the work. It's discussed the timeline, etc. I just wanted to inquire if we should be setting that meeting up with the chair, or if other members of the board wanted to participate in that.
I was
Right.
actually going to ask what the timeline was and what the personnel board's role is going to be in it. So,
Okay, I mean, what are people's thoughts on that? Do you want to sit in on a meeting on that? I mean, my general feeling is, apropos of what Jason said earlier, is, they know how to do this. They need some oversight from us and know what we want from them. But, I don't see us as playing a role of giving them a lot of guidance on do this, do this, do this. They've done this a million times, but I do think a meeting at the outset makes sense, just so we're all on the same page as to exactly how this is going to proceed. And I'm open if the full board wants to do that. Happy to do it. I'm happy to do it on my own, whatever people want to do.
I have every confidence, Barry, that you can handle that meeting on your own. You know what we need to have done.
And I would double down on that, but also advocate that you have a backup, Barry, in case you can't attend. I think it's really important that while we're not going to direct the process, we need to be able to say with a straight face, both to the employees and to the town, that there was no conflict in terms of how the process was run. Inherently, every employee is going to have conflict here because they're candidly advocating for their jobs and responsibilities. We're the only ones that don't have that conflict. So I do think we need to be involved. And obviously, I trust that everyone will be in good hands with you doing it, but also realize you have probably things going on too, and the schedule may not always line up. Just having been through other processes like this before, consultants are great, but there's always a Southborough flavor that needs to go into this, just like any other community would have. And I just think we owe it to everyone, given the expense that's being undertaken here. So if you need help along the way, that's my offer to help you, but I don't plan to join you unless you ask for help.
Okay.
I nominate Jason.
Unless there's
Nope.
anyone else begging to do this, then Jason, you will be, and I'm going to continue to use the +1 terminology that is historically relevant for this board. So thank you, Jason, for volunteering for that. Is there, so we can schedule that.
Okay,
Vanessa.
thank you.
Moving on to 6, is there any other business to come before the board? Seeing none, moving on to item 7, public comment. This was added at Jason's suggestion. Is there anyone out there that?
No one here today.
No. Okay, moving on to number 8, the board calendar. So our next meeting is scheduled for June 15th. We should probably schedule one for July. And if my understanding is correct, the July meeting would have to be in person. Is that correct, Vanessa?
Actually, I will check the date, but I think the order expires on July 15th for virtual meetings. I will double check that. I will be out of the office that week and the following week, so I certainly can leave things in the personnel director's hands.
Well, what does July 13th look like for people?
Good for me.
That's fine for me. I would definitely not be in person.
Okay. Well, it sounds like we should be able to do it via Zoom if
I'm out. I'm out June 13th, July 13th.
Would you be available if we did it via Zoom?
I've got a doctor
Okay,
test at 11:15 a.m. So I got to get to Newton Wellesley by 11:15.
okay. Is there another date that week that would work? I mean, we're not wedded to Wednesday, the 12th or 14th.
14th is fine.
'14th is fine. Any day that week is fine with me.
Yeah, same.
All right, why don't we generally put it down for July 14th at 9 a.m.
And Barry, I think to keep in mind, let's just assume the legislature does not extend the remote meeting provisions. My understanding is obviously the select board has been meeting kind of in this hybrid format. And I think it would default back to, we just have to have a quorum in the room. We would still have the ability, if someone was not in Southborough, to still hold a meeting for that party to participate, or just default back to our old remote policy that existed pre-COVID.
Great. Okay. Anything, this may be a record, since I've been on the board for
This is unbelievable.
timing. This, we're in the post-town meeting phase. So there's no other business to come before the meeting. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second? All right, take a roll call vote. Ms. Jasinski,
Aye.
Mr. Thorburn,
Aye.
Mr. Malinowski.
Aye.
The chair votes aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much. And
Thank you.
Jason, great job on Wednesday.
You're still tired.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
All right,
Take
take
care.
care.